Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. We have all been there, right? You're prepping for a massive test, you feel entirely ready, you've got this. But then you sit down, that paper is placed right in front of you, and it's literally like someone just pulled the plug on your brain. Why is it that you can know an answer perfectly well sitting in your bedroom, but draw a complete blank the second you're in the exam hall?
Think about that at-home state for a second. You're studying the night before, confidently flying through biology questions. Mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. Boom, easy. You close the book, you are golden. But then, fast forward to the stark contrast of the exam hall. The moment you sit down, you read a totally familiar question, and your mind just goes completely, utterly blank. You're sitting there agonizing, thinking, I know this. Where on earth did the answer go?
It really does feel like your brain just hit the delete key on everything you spent hours studying, doesn't it? Well, here's the good news. That is biologically impossible. Your brain did not suddenly delete biology. That information didn't just vanish into thin air. So if the memory wasn't deleted, we need to do a little investigating to figure out what actually happened to that missing information.
Section 1. The memory machine. It's not a video recording.
So, to solve this mystery, we first need to fundamentally shift how we think about the brain. Memory isn't some perfect digital video recording that you can just hit play on whenever you feel like it. It actually happens in 4 distinct steps. First up is encoding, which is just getting the info into your memory. Second is consolidation, where you stabilize that learning over time. Third is storage, holding on to it. And finally, the 4th step, retrieval. This is accessing the information when you actually need it. The absolute critical thing to realize here, studying isn't actually finished until you can successfully execute that final crucial step of retrieval.
Section 2. The Trap of Familiarity. Recognition versus retrieval.
The absolute biggest suspect in our missing memory case is what cognitive scientists call the trap of familiarity. Let's actually do a quick experiment right now to see this trap in action. Okay, without looking it up, what are the 4 bases in DNA? I'll give you a second. Really try to pull it out of your head. You're having to actively search your brain right now, right? That feeling of effort? That is retrieval. Adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. Now, when you heard or read those just now, you probably thought, oh yeah, obviously I knew that. I've seen those a million times. You just experienced the massive difference between active retrieval and passive recognition. Seeing these answers is easy. That's recognition. When you're just rereading your textbook at home, you're mostly just recognizing the text. But exams demand the much harder, completely unassisted task of retrieval.
Section 3. Working memory overload. The brain's temporary workspace.
You see, retrieval actually starts long before the exam paper is handed out, and it relies incredibly heavily on your working memory. That's the system that temporarily holds and manipulates information while you're doing a task. To show you exactly what I mean, try to calculate this math problem in your head right now. 27 times 14. Seriously, don't write it down. You have to hold the 27, multiply the parts, hold the intermediate numbers, and somehow add them all together. You can literally feel your working memory juggling those numbers, right? It's a very real sensation that your cognitive resources are strictly limited.
Now, imagine trying to do that mental calculation, or trying to explain DNA replication, while chaotic thoughts are just racing through your head. What if I fail? Oh my gosh, the clock is ticking. Everyone else is writing already. The crucial point here is that when you sit in an exam, those anxious thoughts consume those exact same limited cognitive resources. Your working memory gets completely overloaded. You're trying to manage the question, the ticking clock, and the looming threat of failure all at once, which is literally crowding out your brain's ability to retrieve the answer.
Section 4. When stress hijacks the brain, the chemistry of panicking.
This cognitive traffic jam happens entirely because of the chemistry of panicking. When you start thinking, what if I fail? Your brain detects a literal threat. This kicks your sympathetic nervous system into gear, flooding your body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Now sure, a tiny bit of stress can boost your alertness, but too much stress? It completely hijacks your working memory. This stress surge triggers that incredibly frustrating tip-of-the-tongue phenomenon. You know it, you can almost see the word in your mind's eye, but you temporarily fail to produce it. This perfectly proves that the memory isn't gone. It's just temporarily blocked by the high-pressure environment. And honestly, this is exactly why you suddenly remember the answer 5 minutes after walking out of the exam hall. The threat is gone, the stress drops, and boom, the retrieval pathway opens right back up.
Because of this biological reality, it is absolutely crucial to distinguish between 2 completely different scenarios when studying. Are you in situation A, where you didn't actually learn the material deeply enough and we're just relying on that trap of familiarity?
Or are you in situation B, where you genuinely know the stuff, but high pressure and stress overload are just blocking your retrieval pathway? Knowing which camp you fall into is the ultimate secret to fixing the problem.
Section 5. Hacking your study habits. Actionable strategies for exam success. So now that we've unmasked our culprits, the trap of familiarity, working memory overload, and stress, let's dive into some highly actionable strategies to actually work with your brain instead of fighting against it. First up is spaced practice. Look, instead of cramming all your learning into one massive, stressful, late-night session, space it out. Day 1, learn. Day 2, review. Day 4, retrieve. Day 7, master. Spacing out your studying creates these repeated low-stakes opportunities for recall. It physically strengthens that neural pathway, so it won't just collapse under pressure.
Second strategy, try explaining DNA replication to a 12-year-old. This is exactly how you beat the trap of familiarity. You've got to put the textbook completely away. Practice under realistic conditions by trying to explain these complex concepts out loud in simple, everyday terms. Because here's the truth. If you can't teach it to someone else without peeking at your notes, you haven't mastered that crucial retrieval step yet.
But okay, what if you're actually in the exam right now and you still go blank? First rule, don't panic. Just use this step-by-step stop method. First, literally stop what you're doing and take a slow, deep breath to lower that adrenaline. Second, read the question carefully. Third, identify exactly what is being asked. Fourth, retrieve literally any related keyword, diagram, or weird fact. Just get something down on paper. And finally, connect. Use that one related fact you just pulled up to trigger the rest and build your answer. Whatever you do, don't sit there staring at a blank page. Just start with what you know.
And please, if you take nothing else away from this explainer, remember this vital fact. Sleep is not stolen study time. Remember step 2 of our memory machine, consolidation? Studying until 3 a.m. is actually working against you because your developing brain literally requires adequate sleep to biologically consolidate everything you've just encoded. Without sleep, that information never properly locks into long-term storage. So, as we bring all this together, remember that your final exam score isn't just some simple measure of how smart or intelligent you are. It's actually a super complex combination of all these distinct interacting factors. Your baseline knowledge, sure, but also how much retrieval practice you did, your focused attention, your working memory capacity in that exact moment, and your emotional state in the room. If even one of those is off, your performance can dip, but it in no way means you aren't capable.
Which brings us to our final and honestly most important point. You are not your exam performance. A memory failure during a test isn't a judgment on your intelligence. It's simply a sign that your cognitive resources were temporarily overloaded. So start practicing active retrieval, get some solid sleep, and you'll find that missing memory is right where you left it. Which kind of makes you wonder, if our brains can instantly hide information just to protect us from stress, what other hidden superpowers is your subconscious mind currently holding back?